Madison Public Library connects us to the world, to information, and to each other. September is Library Card Sign-Up Month, so it's the perfect time to get your very own Madison Public Library card. Already have a card? You can renew it this month and visit the library website for a list of 30 things you can do with your Madison Library card, one for every day of September. Visit madpl.org or stop into any Madison Public Library to get started. Y'all, Jones Dairy Farm, located in Fort Atkinson, is a standout. They do premium meat manufacturing, making dry-aged bacon, naturally smoked hams and Canadian bacon, all-natural sausage, and a new no antibiotics ever chicken and pork meatballs. It's a 7th-generation family-owned and operated farm who's been making breakfast better since 1889. Learn more at jonesdairyfarm.com. That's jonesdairyfarm.com.
Today on CityCast Madison. It's time for that business we call show. Fall has started, so what's on the horizon for this performing arts season? We invited Cap Times food editor and arts reporter Lindsay Christians on the show to give us a sneak preview. It's Wednesday, September 18th. I'm executive producer Haley Sperling, and here's what Madison's talking about. Lindsay, welcome back to CityCast Madison. How are you doing?
I am doing great. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, so most folks know you as the food editor of the Cap Times, but what a lot of people might not know is that you actually really have some serious arts and theater credentials too, yeah?
Yeah, that's how I started. I was an arts writer.
Yeah, and so tell us about what is coming up on the horizon on Madison stages that we're excited about.
Oh my gosh. So I want to say, I came onto the Cap Times originally because I was hired as an arts writer, and my dream was always to be a theater critic, from when I was in high school.
I love that.
I went to school for journalism, and then I got a master's in theater, and theater is still my heart. And so if I'm talking about what's coming up in this performing arts season in Madison, I'm going to start with theater because it is my very favorite. It is the thing that I think makes me happiest in the world, is being in a darkened theater. The lights have gone down, but the show hasn't started yet. It's my favorite place in the world.
It's so magical.
So one of the shows that I'm really excited about is actually on stage right now. Forward Theater just opened its production of King James by Rajiv Joseph. And this is a comedy bromance. I wasn't sure about the word bromance. I wasn't sure if we were still using that word, if that was belittling of male friendship, but everybody who's involved with the production seems cool with it. So I'm going to go with it.
Boys can be friends. That's fine. They can have
Boys can
bromance.
be friends. They should be friends. So this is a play. It spans, I think, 12, 13 years from the early 2000s up through the two main characters are in their early 20s when the play starts, and it sort of charts their friendship along with the career of LeBron James. So this is set in Cleveland, and these two young men, one is a white man, one is a black man, and they bond over their love of basketball, specifically the Cavaliers basketball. And it's a play about basketball like Mighty Ducks is about hockey. So sports is sort of the background, but it's about more than that, right?
You don't have to know the ins and outs of basketball. I don't need to know where the 3-point line is to be able to enjoy this show.
Exactly. And I certainly do not. So, but it's a play that I read several years ago. So when I saw that Forward was putting it up, I was really excited for it. That is opening their season. It's running for, I think, another 2 weeks. And then in November, they're going to be opening Heidi Armbruster's Murder Girl, which is a kind of a mystery thriller set in a Wisconsin supper club.
Ooh, I love all of those words. That's so fun.
And it's set up north in Wisconsin. And it's starring Celia Clare and Sarah Day, who are two veteran actresses in Madison, haven't been on stage together in decades. And it's this story of brother and sister who have inherited this supper club. And maybe there was a murder. Okay. Who knows? And it's a world premiere. that's coming up in November. And I'm really excited for that one too, because it just sounds like a wonderful time.
That sounds so fun. And I mean, like, true crime is just so hot right now, right? You know, everyone loves a murder mystery.
It's totally true. I also think another production that's going to kind of touch on how things have been going, the Overture Center Broadway series that they are bringing through, it's jukebox musical heavy this season, which I think is interesting. I think a lot of people love jukebox musicals. I will go on record as not being one of them.
What do you mean exactly by a jukebox musical? Because I can picture something, but I'm not 100% sure that's right.
So Mamma Mia is a jukebox musical. It's all the music of ABBA. Jersey Boys is a jukebox musical of the Four Seasons. Tina Turner was a jukebox musical. MJ, which is coming, I think, in the spring, is a jukebox musical. Michael Jackson. And Juliet is the one that's going to be opening Overture season right around Thanksgiving. And tickets are on sale for it now. But Anne Juliet imagines if Juliet was allowed to, like, rewrite her own story. The shtick of it is that Anne Hathaway, Shakespeare's wife, is like, I don't like how you've ended this. Let's do this a different way. So Juliet gets to, like, go on her own adventure. And the soundtrack to Anne Juliet, the score of Anne Juliet, is Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, Britney Spears, Katy Perry.
Oh my God. I love that.
Yeah. Adele. Just, I could keep going. But it's all like, mostly like 90s, 2000s pop, millennial pop.
That's such a vibe. I mean, as a millennial, like, I'm kind of obsessed with that concept, you know? Like, I was never really big into Mamma Mia, or I understand ABBA. I think it's cool, whatever. But this sounds incredibly like my jam. So, wow, shout out to the fellow millennials. Go see Anne Juliet. That sounds so fun.
Yeah. So the whole idea is that she's always been linked to Romeo as Romeo and Juliet, but now it's just Anne Juliet.
And something exciting, the Overture, they're celebrating 20 years on State Street this year, right?
Yeah. And I have to put in a little plug. My husband's actually going to be playing for their big celebration that they're doing. So I'm very proud of him. But the 28th, it's a Saturday night. They're going to be doing a big 20th anniversary celebration. They also have a capital campaign that's ongoing because somehow while we weren't looking, Overture turned 20. Which is just bananas to me.
it just kind of feel like it came out of nowhere. We've been having so many great conversations about things that are happening on State Street. You know, we actually just had a conversation with Momoka's new director, Paul Baker Prindle, which was great. And so there's a lot going on in that section of State Street.
Yeah, it's very cool. I think that what's wonderful, too, about the arts community in Madison is that you have entities like the Overture Center where you can see a lot of professional arts, not only those Broadway tours coming through, Forward Theater, obviously professional company, American Players Theater out in Spring Green will have a shoulder season. They're doing a production called Nat Turner in Jerusalem that runs in the Touchstone Theater, which is indoors. Those are all absolutely wonderful, just impeccable professional level. But you also have, and I don't want to create too much of a contrast here because I don't want to be rude, but you have community theaters, you have Broome Street, you have the folks at the Bartell, you have Madison Shakespeare Company, where people who maybe haven't tried acting before or directing can get started and then find not only a way to express themselves artistically and creatively, but a way to find community. And I have always said that the arts are how we express our humanity and how we understand each other as human beings in this world. We tell stories to each other. And I'm excited for a couple of things. Broome Street is doing a production called God Cluster coming up in October. Sean Langenecker is directing that, and I love them. I just think they do wonderful work. They were recently on stage with Forward last season in Clyde's. And then the Bartell Theater has a rotating cast of small theater companies. I'm not seeing a ton announced at the Bartell in terms of theater this fall yet, and I'm not quite sure why that is, but there is a production about the Collier brothers, the Hoarders.
Oh, interesting.
That's going up. Yeah. So that should be kind of interesting, I think, and a little different. Again, like figuring out what is the truth behind the myth.
Okay, I love that. No, I love the juxtaposition of the amount of theater and like different kinds of theater that we have in Madison, right? Because like you said, the Overture Center, we have these massive big productions. I saw Les Mis there not that long ago, and it was so beautiful. And of course, it's professionals on stage, behind the scenes, doing the sets. But then I've also been to shows at Broome Street. I saw Paul Blart of Darkness there, and that was amazing. There are only so many words I can say about that one on air, but it's amazing. But it's such a much more like intimate experience. You know, you kind of feel like you're part of the acting, like you're part of the play, which I also love. I've only ever been to one show at the Bartell, and it was the Acro Cats, if you've ever seen them.
Oh my gosh.
And that one, the audience does kind of get involved because every now and then a cat jumps off the stage and they're like, please remain calm and do not try to get the cat.
Oh, baby. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
But they are professionals.
I was a Barty judge for a while, which is like the Bartell Theater Awards. And so I went to, for several seasons, I went to every single thing that they did. And it's a great way to sort of stretch yourself beyond what you would normally, like what I would normally go and see just for myself, to really say, no, I need to have like a really broad view of everything that the Bartell put up. The thing with Broome Street, when I first started at this job, we used to joke that Broome Street was the place where you would go and they would get naked and scream at you.
Very Madison, very Willie Street vibes. Yeah.
But I really think the wonderful thing about Broome Street to me is that it is a place where you can write a play and you have the support there to put it up and see what it looks like on its feet. And it is incredibly intimate, right? It's so close. I love that Are We Delicious is coming back to that.
Okay, what is that?
Space. So Are We Delicious is basically, it's similar, like, have you heard of Blitz, where they write plays in 24 hours?
No, but that sounds amazing.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, what Blitz is, and similar to what Are We Delicious is you have a very, very limited amount of time. And it's kind of like SNL. The show doesn't start when it's ready. The show starts because it's midnight on a Saturday, right? Yeah. It goes up because it goes up. So with Are We Delicious and with Blitz, there will be themes and there are like pickup companies. So Are We Delicious has kind of a team of artists that sort of rotates and varies. And what it promises is something that you've never seen before. Sometimes it's like unexpectedly great.
Okay.
And sometimes you're like, what is going on? And Blitz is kind of like that too. Blitz is usually around New Year's now, and they start and they literally work from, they have 24 hours. And
wow.
You've got like your writers who kind of work all night, and then in the morning everyone's exhausted and they give it to like the directors, and they have their little team of actors. And it goes up at 8:00 no matter what. And you have a challenge prop usually, or you'll have a challenge title or theme.
Ooh.
So
Okay.
yeah, it's really fun. And again, it kind of creates camaraderie, because I think one of the wonderful things about theater for the people who are around it is when things go not necessarily wrong, but maybe kind of wrong or unexpectedly, and you have to think on your feet.
An improv moment. Yeah.
An improv moment. Yeah. And you're all sort of working together to say, we're going to tell this story to you and we're going to do it to the best of our ability. And we want you to come along for this ride.
What's up, guys? It's the champ, Sean O'Malley, here to talk to you about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to win real money while watching football. Run your game on Prize Picks.
Prize Picks will give you $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Just download the Prize Picks app and use code SPOTIFY. That's code SPOTIFY on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play a $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
This episode is brought to you by Polestar. Time is luxury, which is why Polestar spent so much time designing the Polestar 3, their luxury electric performance SUV. It's designed to go further with up to 315 miles of range and immerse you in a unique listening experience powered by 25 speakers. Your favorite daily news podcast has never sounded better. All to make the time you spend behind the wheel of Polestar 3 the best time of your day. Book your test drive at polestar.com.
You mentioned a little bit earlier the American Players Theater, which is a little bit outside of Madison in Spring Green. Can you set the scene for what it's like to attend an APT show for folks like me who haven't ever been?
Yeah, for sure. So I will say the American Players Theater season is winding down. There's only like 2 weeks left or so.
Gotcha. Okay.
Before we go into the fall the fall sort of shoulder season is what they call it. And they're just running one play. So the way that it kind of works at APT is they open 5 shows in June and then they open 3 more in August. And those are all running in repertory, right? So 3 of them are going to be running in the Inside Touchstone Theater. That's an indoor space, about 200 seats, similar kind of to the Playhouse at Overture Center, if you've been there.
Yeah.
So kind of smallish, but, a little bit of a thrust stage there. And then the outdoor shows are in an amphitheater. The first time we went, my husband and I went back in 2008, we didn't understand that you couldn't take food up the hill.
Okay.
So we brought a picnic and we're we're just going to eat while watching the show. That's not how it works.
So not a BYOB situation.
I mean, it is a BYOB, but you want to go early and picnic on the grounds and then take all that stuff back to your car.
There's multi-steps.
Yeah. Now, usually if we have a 7:30 start time, we will be out there by 5, right? And we're grilling and we're having a bottle of wine and we're having a lovely time and it's just gorgeous. And then we put all of our stuff back into the car and we walk up the hill to the amphitheater. The amphitheater seats about 1,100 people. It was remodeled in 2018, or 2017, I should say. It has improved lighting. One of the improvements that they made was there is enough overhang space so that if it rains, there's enough room for everybody to be out of the rain.
Amazing.
Which did not used to be the case.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And performers will play through light rain. So that's also something to keep in mind. The thing with APT, especially if you're going in the fall, remember to bring bug spray, obviously, of course, but it gets chilly up the hill at night. And so I always encourage people to bring a blanket, bring long pants. We'll often bring sweatshirts. For several years in a row, my husband would just forget and buy a new APT sweatshirt every time it got cold. So he's got 4 of them now.
We support the theater in any way we can. And whether that's buying swag, it's buying swag,
Yeah. And then up the hill, Dancing at Lunasa is really beautiful. I don't know if you might have remembered the movie in the 90s with Meryl Streep, but this is an Irish memory play about these 5 sisters who are living in rural Northern Ireland. And it's just beautiful. It has such a lovely musicality to it, like a poeticism, I would say, but really lovely. And the Much Ado that's running up there is incredible too, if you haven't seen Much Ado.
Amazing. So sounds like we've got a packed theater lineup this fall, no matter where you are. Branching out, because we've got more than just theater coming to town. We also have the Madison Symphony Orchestra. What can people get excited for on those fronts?
Sure. So the Madison Symphony Orchestra, the big news around them is that John DeMaine, who has been the maestro for 30 plus years, John DeMaine, he announced last year that he would not retire, but he would step down at the end of the 2025-2026 season. So May of 2026 will be his last concert, which means that the symphony is inviting in guest conductors starting this season. Oh. And there are 2 coming this fall, which is a really cool thing, right? You're going to be able to hear some of these new potential directors of the MSO. It's really interesting because as John DeMaine is sort of heading out, he's not only programming some of his favorite pieces, he's also making an effort to program more works by contemporary composers, by women, by people of color. There is a piece by Valerie Coleman, who's a flautist, called Umoja. It's an anthem of unity. And the cool thing about Valerie Coleman is that, so not only is the MSO performing a piece from her at their September 20th weekend concert, the Wisconsin Chamber Orchestra is having an event that's part of their Musical Landscapes in Color project. So on October 10th, the piece will be performed again.
Oh, so you get a second chance.
Yeah. And I think, my impression is that she's going to be here. It looks like she's going to be here in October for that. So that October 10th performance by the Wisconsin Chamber Orchestra is going to be very cool. It's including music by Michael Abels, who wrote the soundtrack for Nope. The movie Nope.
Okay. Yeah. That's cool.
Andre Myers is a composer and educator from California. He's got a piece. Jazz pianist Patrice Rushin. All of these are multi-hyphenate artists doing really cool stuff. And they're going to be, the Wisconsin Chamber Orchestra, under the direction of Andrew Sewell, will be recording this performance. And then it'll be released as an album in the spring.
Super awesome.
So, very cool. Yeah. The Madison Opera is doing Barber of Seville this November. That is a production I think they've done 3 times in their history. And we're going to get to see some performers that we've seen on Madison Opera stages before. One of the things that's really cool about Madison Opera is oftentimes you'll get to see, a soprano or a tenor who's up and coming, like about to be performing at the Met.
Oh, wow.
But they're stopping here first so that they're learning Salome before performing it in a larger setting than Madison.
Right.
Because we are wonderful, but we're not huge. Right?
Yes. Yes, that's so true. We're a good place to test things out, right? Why not?
We are a very generous audience. I think we're a supportive audience. But something like The Barber of Seville, it is so much fun because it's the kind of opera that you think of when you think of opera.
Okay.
Right? Figaro, Figaro, Figaro.
Yes, I love that. We'll put you on stage, right?
Yeah, oh God. It's a lot of like dressing in disguise, and I'm going to dress like this, and then I'm going to seduce her so that she doesn't know that I am a rich count, and she will fall in love with me for who I am and not for my money and fame. Whereas, Rosina, she is the ward of this Bartolo. He's her guardian, and he wants to marry her, his ward, for her inheritance. So, of course, that's some subterfuge. And through it all, the Figaro, the barber, is like making machinations and connecting people with here and there and sort of making all the magic happen. But it's just a lot of fun. Barber of Seville is not like about a lot of big things. It's just a lot of fun to watch the hijinks,
So that sounds like kind of maybe a good introductory opera if you're like me and have never seen one before, right?
100%. I would also recommend, if you are new to opera, if you've never been before, and I've been to opera before and I still do this, go to the pre-show talk. It starts an hour before each performance. Catherine Smith gives a little half-hour intro. It's so entertaining. It's just so much fun. She will give you a little history of the composer. She'll give you a little history of the piece. And then at the end, there are always Muppets. And I love that part.
Who doesn't love Muppets? What? Opera is so, the more you talk about it, like this is just so camp. Like everything about this is so camp. I'm obsessed. Like I need to go to the opera right now.
You really do. The opera is great. And people dress up, which is really fun. Because how often in Madison do we dress up?
Love that. No, I mean, that's also one of my favorite parts of going to the theater or going to the symphony or whatnot. It's just getting dressed up, committing to the bit. I love it. Like who doesn't love an excuse to just put on a fancy outfit because you can?
Oh my gosh. I used to love that. When I was an usher at Overture Center for 5 years because I love making access to the arts feel friendly and comfortable, right? Because it's not a space that everybody feels comfortable and welcomed in. And so I always felt like I just want to like hit, this is where the bathroom is and here's how long intermission is and helping people into the space. But I remember I was ushering for the Nutcracker because I loved seeing the little girls in their tights and everything.
Oh.
And I remember one mom was trying to get her kiddo to go to the bathroom and he didn't want to go. And she said, if you don't go to the bathroom, the Nutcracker won't dance.
Oh, that's one way to do it.
Yeah. But just seeing people introduce their kids to the arts is really, it's lovely.
And speaking of dance, I'd be remiss if we did not mention all of the great dance productions that are going on in this fall. What do we got coming up? What should people be excited about?
So the thing I'm most excited about is Rhapsody in Blue, which Madison Ballet is putting up September 27th through the 29th. That's going to actually be at My Arts on East Wash, the youth arts building that's relatively new, maybe a couple years old now.
Yeah.
And the artistic director, Jean Malik, has choreographed some Rhapsody in Blue performance accompanied by the band Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Which is really fun. They're classically trained musicians, but they describe themselves as a contemporary fusion ensemble. So a little jazz. It feels like it's going to be familiar, but also very new. And I love things like that take something that you are familiar with, like the Rhapsody in Blue music, Gershwin, and do something really new and fresh with it. One of the things John Malik is really doing is pushing the ballet to perform more premieres, more newer works. He's bringing in choreographers. He's just doing a lot of really cool stuff. I've been so impressed at the beauty of some of the work, at the athleticism of these dancers. They're just gorgeous. And the nice thing too about ballet, it's not a long commitment. opera is a long commitment. Like Barbara Seville is like 3 hours. Rhapsody in Blue is probably going to be an hour and a half. You know what I mean? Like it's
Okay.
going to be quick. So if you want a beautiful night out at the arts and you want to see something that's like athletic and graceful, but also just the cool music, the costumes are always really cool. I'm excited with what Jean-Malik has been doing with the company. I think it's exciting. I think it feels refreshing. It feels like a bigger city than we are, frankly.
That's so beautiful. Well, thank you so much for rounding up all of these incredible happenings. We're definitely going to throw a link to your coming article in our show notes and hopefully get some people out into the theater and out into these dancing in the streets, whatnot.
Yeah. I would also like to just mention there are a lot of things that I won't be able to mention in my roundup, right? So things at the UW, performances there, especially like UW Dance. It's really, really cool to see some of these young performers. You see people taking chances. You see people at all ranges of learning. That's really neat to see. Also, there are a lot of small companies like Fresco Opera Theater is doing opera at the Point at Picnic Point on September 26th. You can go see a little bit of opera outside in this beautiful setting. That's really cool too. So there are so many opportunities at places like Arts and Literature Laboratory or Burr Oak, some of these smaller venues where you can see music, dance, even opera in unexpected places. And I want to encourage people, like, even if you haven't heard of Tappet New Works or you're not really familiar with the Wisconsin Youth Symphony Orchestra, there are still some really interesting opportunities. Maybe make it a goal, like push yourself, go somewhere you haven't been before and just try it out.
There is art all around us. Well, thank you so much, Lindsay. It's been a pleasure as always.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
That's Lindsay Christians, food editor and arts reporter for the Cap Times. We'll toss a link to her latest piece on the fall performance scene in our show notes. And that's all for today, here on CityCast Madison. I'm executive producer Haley Sperling. If you enjoyed the show, why not share this episode with your favorite thespian? We'll be back tomorrow morning with more stories from around the city. Bye!